Then after that, and I really did a lot of different jobs, which will be unpacked.
Same here.
It's like you're telling his story.
Like 30-something different jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was grateful for all of them, like from laying concrete to laying pipe work to being electrical work, running my business with laying electrical cables and refitting houses, to building work, to courier driving, to taxi driving. I mean, you name it. Like I got the experience of it, and I'm really grateful for it.
You know, would you say it's because you lose interest quickly and your mind needs to get stimulated differently?
I think one of the core things for me is I didn't want to leave any stone unturned, and part of it was a conversation with my mum, 18, and she said, if you could have a year out, you could do anything, you could work any job that you want, what would you do, and why not have a taste of everything so that you know what you really want to do.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, because how do you know you could be really interested in being a mechanic, but you never had the chance?
Right.
So
and kids these days, they think they have to have that figured out. What am I going to do for the next 40 years?
Exactly.
And that's so unrealistic.
Exactly. And the other side of it ties in for me as part of my role as a life coach is a career coach as well, and it's helping direct people into their chosen field, which I've developed what I think is the best of everything I've learned into one system to help people do that. And part of that was having the experience of all these different kind of genres and pathways into work and being able to relate to people at that level as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you were trying different jobs, and then did you find one that was it, or what happened next?
Well, I discovered through that process I could actually love a lot of things. You know, I could
Yeah.
love building,
Right.
I
That's
could love
okay.
being physical, I loved personal training, but I started to develop themes. I noticed there were themes that came to the surface.
Right, I agree.
And I had to start, really journaling. What was it that was making me warmer? What was making me colder? What was making me excited?
Wow, that's a
what
good
was
way to
moving
do
me
it.
Wow, I
away?
didn't think of it that
So it
way.
was a great self-reflective question to ask and really helped me on the path to finding my mission and cause, really.
Okay.
So how did you build the self-image to go to do what you wanted to do? Because I mean that's really challenging too, and not listening to other people's opinions of what they want for you.
Because in America, we're all taught to just great grades in high school.
Sure.
You have to place. She was top 10. I was not even close. Top 10% of the grades.
Good, I just worked hard.
100%.
Yeah.
So you can get in a university and then get a corporate job.
That quite frankly, I think is one of probably the fundamental keys. The type of thinking is to produce the type of results. So my thinking was always to be outside of the box. And there's a part of me that wanted to stay within the tried and true. And there was one time where I had a mortgage to pay. I was in a job that I loved 80%. And later on, I can teach you guys the Nexus, which basically incorporates your passion, your skills, your talents, your giftings, and your personality all into one direction, and you find out the key sweet spot. But I had to find that I was only at 80% of my Nexus, which was actually quite high. Nexus is just what I described. A Nexus means the joining point, and basically it's the joining point of all of those things that come together. And how excited when you hit the sweet spot, that's when you're Nexus. And I found that I was in a job that I was 80% doing what I loved, and I had to make a decision at that point. Do I want to take the risk and go into my own business and fully go into the delicious category, which is 100 plus of what you love to do? Or would I be willing just to potentially stay 80 and then maybe even drift down to 60 and just live a ho-hum existence, paying the bills and being okay with my life? And I really had to make the decision at that point. It's like, you know what, I'm going to take the risk, I'm going to gamble it, and I'm going to really go. So how did I...
That makes so much sense, man.
Yeah.
Because that's what people do all the time. People are like, I like it enough, or do I do the risky thing that is 100% what I want to do?
Yeah.
Exactly. And quite frankly, they're the hardest clients to work with, are those in the category between 40 to 60%, because it's okay enough to stay in there,
pretty much
but
the middle.
it's not bad enough to change. So the majority of people stay within that zone. They don't want to change it because better the devil you know, the devil you don't. Exactly.
Pray the economy crashes so that way you can change something. That's what happens, right?
To open up your mind.
And that, quite frankly, was a massive thing for me to fight against, because I come from quite a conservative country. Sorry to the NZ followers, but it's true. You know, the key thing is it's a very conservative culture in a lot of ways, and so I had to fight that. And I was the youngest out of three older brothers, right? So I had to learn to think outside the box. I had to learn to do the best I could with the minimum I had. When you're fighting three older brothers, you have to be crafty.
I have brothers
you have
too,
to be smarter, right?
Yeah.
You can't always think as the big guy. So, but I see that as a blessing, because I couldn't just use my God-given size or whatever I had as the young kid, because it wouldn't work, right? So I had to come up with other strategies that were outside the box, and perhaps that actually guided and directed my thinking to become an outside of the box thinker as well.
Which is
and
amazing.
try these different things.
Yeah, right.
Wow. So this is. So you had that at a young age then? You were thinking that differently at a young age?
Well, I believe so, because, I mean, this was just a classic example. Whenever they would show patterns of numbers that you had to read out in class, right? Everyone would see like a 6, and I'd somehow see an 8. Everyone see one color, I would see another color, but that's just a physical thing which has to do with color blindness.
You're
yeah, I'm colorblind too.
Yeah,
so I know
Oh
what
my
you mean.
god, I swear to God,
I
it's
understand.
like
It's
I
crazy,
feel like y'all are like the same person right now.
Following the same verse,
Yeah.
So I literally
You
had
color
to-
the ocean purple instead of blue. That's what I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love you for that.
yeah, stuff like that, man.
The crayons look the same.
Yeah. So, but I always come back to this quote. Well, there's 2 quotes I love, and one is from Theo Sagroff, and the other is from Albert Einstein, and he says, you know, imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited, but imagination encircles the world.
Yeah.
And I always harken back to that, because that quote for me is kind of like I could stay within the confines of society and do what most of the people do and get what most of the results are given in life, right?
Yeah.
Which is the same thing, the same wage, most people in debt, most people slightly broke, most people living week to week, and I could live with that type of thing and get that results, or I could decide to change everything. I know people, friends, and I won't say it out, but they make much more money than me per se, but they're still living on their credit, still in debt on their credit card every year, right? Because they haven't learned to think outside the box. They still live within society's framework for their life. And so that was one of my gifts, was to take that quote, that type of quote, and then just apply it to life. And if I access imagination, then anything becomes possible.